What is going on, Chicago Bears fans? Bear down, FGB, and the Chicago Bears finished off the Buffalo Bills 33-6 in the preseason game. And that is a great sign for what's coming in the future. We got a bunch of things that we're going to break down as we go through this. We're going to talk about some of the NFC North competitors, what they look like, and we're going to take a trip down memory lane. It's not going to last for very long, but we're going to take one quick poke into something that also happened, which was quite fascinating when you break it down completely. If you like this type of content, though, make sure you hit the like button on your way in. Helps push me up in the algorithm. Let's talk Chicago Bears. So there was a lot to unpack from this game. Most of it good, a lot of it surrounding how good Caleb Williams looked. And look, it's a preseason game, but it was a very big win. And the offensive line, there was a question about the offensive line. What was the offensive line looking like? Wasn't looking too great. There were some questions and concerns that we had as we were going into it. Nate Davis, primary among them. Ryan Bates is currently injured. Kirana Magaji still working his way through some injury, non-football related injury. So there's a lot of things that are missing from this team. However, I think most people who watch this would agree that this team looks ready to compete and they look inspired in the way that they play. And that really is the biggest change so far from the previous seasons. The Bears did not appear ready to play at a high level, and they look like they're ready to compete at a high level right now in the preseason. Now, will that translate over to the regular season? Hey, it's still preseason. You never know what you're going to get until everybody's in their zone. But 1-to-1s, 2s-to-2s, 3s-to-3s, the Chicago Bears dominated the Green Bay Packers, the Buffalo Bills, and is a good sign of things to come. And number one, Caleb Williams was absolutely dazzling in his NFL debut. Only two drives. But let me break this down for you because I think people are missing some of this. And if you haven't already, I did do a video on every play for Caleb Williams. I suggested you go check that out if you are curious. But guys, this is what we are looking for. It the hype that you're getting on Caleb Williams right now is unbelievable, and it is around the NFL right now. Caleb Williams absolutely looked the part as he stepped onto the field. And the most important part was control of the game. He managed the process. He managed everything. Now, he was 4 of 7 for 95 yards, and he had one run that went for 13 yards in order to get a first down and continue a drive. No touchdowns. That is a cause for concern. Of the minor things that you have that are concerns, closing it out in the red zone, that's an issue. And I think that it's a very minor one. I think at this point we don't have enough. We really don't have enough tape to be a judge in that regard. But the fact that you're getting into that range and getting yourself some opportunities is a very, very good sign. And he did. He moved the ball down the field. Now, of that 4 of 7 passing, I do want to say this. One of those was an atypical drop by Cole Kmet, and the other was an atypical drop by DJ Moore. So the fact that you have two of your best receivers dropping a couple of passes leads me to believe, and by the way, these were not passes that were overthrown, underthrown. These were on the money. The one that he really missed was it was outside of the end zone. He was trying to lay one up for Rome Odunze to go up and make that big play. And Rome was just, unfortunately, Rome is not 9 feet tall and can just reach up into the sky and grab a ball. Other than that, Caleb Williams absolutely looked the part. So, guys, if you haven't already and you missed it and you didn't take the time to go see what this looks like, I would encourage you not only to take the time to go watch it, but really evaluate everybody, because the offensive line played very, very well. The defensive line played outstanding without Montez Sweat. They were disruptive, and the offensive line, the offensive line created pockets. They gave pockets of protection. Matty Pryor stepped up big time. Coleman Shelton looked the part of a starting NFL center. In fact, it's probably evident at this point that the Bears want Ryan Bates to be their starting center. But because of the situation concerning Nate Davis, Ryan Bates has been pressed into the guard position. Coleman Shelton, who has more experience at the center position, has done a fantastic job so far. Again, just preseason, but looked really, really good. The entire offensive line, they gave the pocket. They gave Caleb Williams a pocket to throw from. He made quick reads. He made quick decisions. He made quick progressions. He looked the part. And then when they ran the ball, looked very, very good. Khalil Herbert, in fact, certainly. And Roshan Johnson, by the way, not in the lineup. So Khalil Herbert got a long, long look, as did Travis Homer, Velus Jones. Velus Jones had a couple of nice runs, but, fumbled, flubbed a couple of plays, tripped on some air one time, flubbed a kick return. So it's typical Velus Jones. I do think that this, if it's me, I think my experiment with Velus Jones probably over, because I have more upside, and I know that they want him to learn the running back position, but he needs to learn the running back position somewhere else, in my opinion. And we need to move on and just keep what we've got in place. So, just my opinion, though. I don't know what you think, but I wasn't a fan of what was happening. But you know what I was a fan of? Austin Booker has continued to dominate in the preseason. He now has 4 sacks in 2 preseason games, with limited opportunities to hit the field, of course. And he had 3 quarterback hits on Saturday as well. Chicago Bears dominated Saturday against the Buffalo Bills, winning 33 to 6. Defensively, they allowed 6 points and scored a touchdown of their own. Micah Baskerville with an interception. Aside from one big return, the special teams were mostly solid. Perhaps what stood out the most, though, was the pass rush, which had 8 sacks. This is the team. And guys, I told you guys, I think that what we've got here is a really good line that, I'm super bullish on what I see so far. Javon Dexter looks the part. Andrew Billings looks the part. Montez Sweat not there, but DeMarcus Walker certainly looked the part. Daniel Hardy has looked the part. And Austin Booker, I don't think that Austin Booker is going to have to wait very long on the sidelines. There is this was an incredible performance. As a matter of fact, Austin Booker was named the game MVP. This is the second straight week that he showed flashes of that potential. He didn't have a great performance at the scouting combine and came out of Texas really raw. However, and there's a few teams that didn't like him, but the Bears really liked him as an athlete and as a person. They believe there was a chance that they could get him in the 5th round. He got him in the 5th round, and now, I mean, guys, this is the guy. I think, in my opinion, early on, and of course, we had a long way to go, but this is the guy we've been waiting for at that position, and he's going to be here for a couple of years. Now, if he stays healthy and he continues to progress and improve, here's the important part: Austin Booker was dominating the Buffalo Bills 1 guys. Like, he was not taking on backups. I mean, he did, but he was dominant against their starting left tackle. So he was having a big run of this. So Austin Booker was not satisfied with his performance and said that he didn't like it. Hall of Fame defensive end said that he was the same way during his career, as he were talking about it after the game. Booker had a game that most rookies would have dreamed of, and he couldn't get over the fact that he left 2 sacks on the field. And he is upset right now because he didn't get 2 additional sacks. This guy 4.5 sacks in a preseason game is what he was going for, and he was annoyed with himself by only having 2.5 sacks, 3 quarterback pressures. Guys, this is the level that we've been waiting for that right side of the line. Now, I'm not prepared to sit Demarcus Walker for Austin Booker yet, but he is really looking like the Bears can have some confidence that on obvious pass rushing downs, they can give Austin Booker a lot of looks and a lot of playing time on this field, and they can know that they've got a game player. Now, a couple of things. I do think, number one, that they still need another defensive lineman or two. And number two, we have to accept that there are going to be some major mistakes that Austin Booker's going to make. He's got great instincts. We see that so far. Probably could increase his size. But once, and I hear this constantly where people say Austin Booker needs to get just a little bit bigger. He needs to increase his size. But you know what, guys? He looks the part already. Put him in an outfit, put him in his uniform, and put him on the field. He doesn't look smaller than everybody else. He doesn't look smaller than Montez Sweat. Like, this guy looks the part already. So would you like to see more muscle on him? Sure. Would you like to see some other things? Absolutely. But right now, it to me looks like he is just an absolute fantastic player. Okay. I don't know how else to say that. But let's talk about one of the other guys who was a big one. And that was Coleman Shelton took the start at center. And look, I do want to say I think that Ryan Bates is probably the guy that they want to be the starting center. But it is also my opinion at this point, maybe you can't release Nate Davis. You just can't, because you're going to need a backup. You're going to need something like that. However, I think the Bears are at the end of their rope with Nate Davis. That, he didn't play well last year. He had some issues, but when he came back, his OFF rating was only 52.9, which means that he was not really prepared. So Coleman Shelton becomes the first person to snap the ball to Caleb Williams. And look, the line, the line held up very well. Every time you go back and you look at this, they gave up 8 sacks. We didn't do that. It didn't look like that at all when you look at what the Bears were doing. So, guys, I just want to say that from that standpoint, it seems to me that this team is well ahead of where we thought they would be. You look at the Bills' statistics, especially on the defense. They had one sack. Is that right? Yeah, they had 1 sack from Dorian Williams, and they had three quarterback hits. So 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. Chicago Bears, 8 sacks and 11 quarterback hits. And by the way, let me point this out, because it gets lost to a lot of people because we're in the preseason and because, quote unquote, the games don't matter. Okay. The Buffalo Bills are a playoff team. They've been a playoff team. They've been a good playoff team. Josh Allen, one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. The Bears dominated this team. The Bears took these guys to task and looked phenomenal while they were doing it. Zach Pickens had a sack. Austin Booker had 2.5. Daniel Hardy had 2.5. Amin Ogbenamigma had a sack. Khalid Kareem had a sack. And look, Austin Booker and Daniel Hardy both had 3 quarterback hits in addition. I mean, this team was not playing around. This team is ready to play. Coleman Shelton at center held up very, very well. And by the way, it's the only guy now to take snaps to Caleb Williams. Will this be his personal catcher? Do you remember that guy had a personal catcher? What the hell was his name? Played for the Chicago Cubs. Didn't he have a personal catcher at one point? Well, maybe Coleman Shelton ends up being the personal guy. And by the way, we got DeAndre Swift up here. Don't forget, DeAndre Swift had just a fantastic and big time play as well. Offensive line holding up very, very well over the weekend. So I think a lot of people are pretty excited about what's going on. But let's talk about Daniel Hardy. 2.5 sacks, 3 quarterback pressures or quarterback hits, looking the part. Now, Daniel Hardy probably going to earn himself a roster spot with this play. Will it translate into the regular season? Is of course the question. Daniel Hardy coming kind of out of nowhere and just really coming together and looking the part. Here's the thing: he has taken on twos. He's not starting. He's not. He's just trying to find that roster spot. And one of the things that we've been looking for on this defensive line are players who will step up and players who will answer the call. Right? Zach Pickens had a sack. Javon Dexter. Let me see what Javon did. Let's see here. Bum, 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 bum. Javon Dexter had one solo tackle. That was about it on the day, but he had one quarterback hit. So he was getting back there. He was part of the disruption. But, Daniel Hardy really comes in, has a big game. Other than that, you had Khalid Kareem with a sack and a quarterback hit. Austin Booker. These guys look ready to play. When you start going down this line and you start looking, Keith Randolph did not get in the game. So it is my opinion that obviously Daniel Hardy just outperforming some of these other guys. So I think he's probably earned himself a roster spot. Ogbonniemigma probably earned himself a roster spot. So there may not be a spot for Keith Randolph Jr. unless it's the practice squad going in. And by the way, did anybody notice that Jonathan Owens did come out, get a little play time, and ended up with a solo tackle? And it wasn't on Simone Biles. Yeah. So anyway, and then Reddy Stewart, by the way, Reddy Stewart came out and had a couple of tackles. So guys, look, we've got a team that's inspired, a team that's ready to play, and a team that's really ready to perform at a high level. Also, Jalen Hutchings has been signed, and Demetric Felton has been released. Now, if you remember, about 2 weeks ago, Demetric Felton was signed as a running back just to kind of see what he had to do. But I mean, guys, when you watch what's going on the field, Khalil Herbert is looking like a stud. DeAndre Swift obviously had the big catch for 42 yards. Velus Jones being tried out right there. Travis Homer had a pretty good game. Not amazing. I mean, I don't think we're going to say that was by far his best game or anything like that. But he had 4 carries for 18 yards. Ian Wheeler with the big touchdown. A 21-yard touchdown run, but he had 5 carries for 43 yards. Velus 6 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown. And here's the thing. Velus, despite the fact that he had a pretty decent job running the ball a couple of times, despite that, I didn't feel comfortable because of the flubs. So if he gets over that, then maybe we've got a deeper rushing room. But to me at this point, it looks like DeAndre Swift, then it looks like Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson, and now when you get past that, you got Travis Homer, you got Ian Wheeler. These guys are fighting for roster spots. The Bears are preferential to Travis Homer because of his value on special teams. Velus Jones as well. So now you've got a packed rushing room. I don't think anybody's a real, other than DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert, nobody there is a star yet. Nobody there has really set the world on fire, if you will. But it's going to get interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, it really is, because there's too many people right now in the rushing room, and somebody's got to go. So we're going to see cuts pretty soon. I'll talk to you about what changes. I do have the roster information up. Now, as far as receiving goes, DeAndre Swift had 1 for 42 yards. Dante Pettis had 1 for 34. Tommy Sweeney, 2 for 29. DJ Moore, 2 for 27. Cole Kmet, 1 for 26. Stephen Carlson, 3 for 18. Brendan Bates, 1 for 16. And then Nasimba Webster, 1 for 10. Only 12 receptions in the entire game. But, let's face it, the Bears didn't need to do much. All they had to do was go out there and just run the ball down their throats. 141 rushing yards. This is the type of Chicago Bears team we've been looking for a long period of time. We have a quarterback who's capable and adept at making plays. And when I say that, I do mean both Caleb Williams and Tyson Bagent, both looking pretty good so far. And by the way, did anybody notice? I don't know if anybody was paying attention. I think you guys certainly are. But did you notice how much pepper, if you will, there was on Tyson Bagent's throws as opposed to last season. I think that Tyson Bagent has increased his arm strength tremendously to the point that he was actually zipping the ball. There's always been concerns about Tyson Bagent, about his ability to throw a ball downfield. And guess what? He looked the part finally this season so far, whipping the ball to receivers down the field, which has been that was what was missing last year. It's not missing right now. So shout out to Tyson Bagent for his big move as well. Also, guys, a little birdie here. Karan Emagaji is on the practice field, despite that we haven't seen him in games yet. He is practicing. Here we have Ryan Poles checking him out. This was taken a couple of days ago. He is hitting the. There are some images of him. Not only is he practicing solo over here, but he's also he's on the machines. So I think it's only a matter of time before he's activated, and this is going to be a very necessary, I think, at this point, activation. I hope that he's okay. And I hope that I hope that he is going to be ready for this season. It's going to be very difficult after missing 2 preseason games, after not getting any kind of real rep time to be ready for the season. He'll be worked into the roster, I'm sure, slowly but surely. I don't know that it's incredibly pressing at this point for him to get in there. There was a lot of questions, a lot of people on Twitter over the weekend, like, can he play guard? Because Nate Davis is, Nate Davising. And I don't know the answer to that, but we'll see what happens here. Kirana Magaji, though, out here on the practice field. Now let's talk about, well, you know what? Before we go, let's talk about Caleb Williams. First of all, he looked the part. He looked like a superstar. Not only him, but I mean, let's go down the list here. Karan, of course, has not played yet. And Roma Dunze has still not caught a pass. So those are outliers there. Tory Taylor, Caleb Williams looked like a star. Austin Booker looked like a star. 5 tackles, 3 quarterback hits, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Austin Booker was amazing coming into this. Tory Taylor, 2 punts, averaging 48 yards a punt. That is ridiculous. Ian Wheeler, he averaged 8.5 yards a carry and had a pair of touchdowns. Brendan Bates had 3 special team tackles. The rookies that we've got right now, they are stepping up big time. And you know who else is stepping up big time? Matt Pryor. He started at right guard in place of, because we didn't have Ryan Bates or Nate Davis. Matt Pryor started, and guess what? The offensive line looked good with Matt Pryor, and you can say this. We need some more line depth, okay? The production that we got was against the seconds and the thirds, right? So, Austin Booker looked good. He actually looked really good against the one left tackle, but yeah, we're going to have a little bit more. So I do hope that the Bears find 2 more people. Now, Yannick Ngakoue is going to make the most sense. I know some people have a love-hate relationship with him. I think that he didn't have I think he didn't get a fair shake here in Chicago the first time. I don't think that he's baked out. I don't think that he's burnt up. I think that, he was probably injured, probably nursing some problems, and was getting too much attention from opposing offensive lines going into this season, this past season. And then when you started to see him come together was when Montez Sweat got here. And then as that was all happening, he got injured with an ankle and was out for the season. But I think that he was somebody that we probably need to take a look at. And in fact, he's going to be the best available person when it comes down to it. Khalid Kareem might, there's some guys that we have that might make the roster. Daniel Hardy, Khalid Kareem, some of these guys might end up being there, but we still need a veteran on that line. And then don't forget that Micah Baskerville, probably with that defensive play, taking it back for a touchdown, probably made the roster at linebacker for that. Amin Agbenamigma, he stood out. Jalen Jones, another Jalen. We had another Jalen that's looking like a star as well. And so we'll see what happens over here. But let's talk about the entire division right now. Now, this is a good, bad, and ugly from CBS Sports, and this is going to cover the good. Yes, it was preseason, but Caleb Williams looked like the real deal. Throw on the runs were accompanied by strong zip like when he rolled out to hit tight end Cole Kmet down the sideline. Under duress, he remained calm, including a screenplay that collapsed, which allowed him to hit running back DeAndre Swift for a short completion that turned into a 42-yard game. He finished 95 yards on 4 of 7 passing, but 2 of those were drops by DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. Chicago has hope for Williams as he is considered the long-term future. The bad, Velus Jones, it definitely, I know it's Velus, but I just like saying Velus, so same way I like saying Gervon instead of Jervon. Transitioning from wide receiver to running back, Jones tripped over Bears quarterback Tyson Bagent to lose yardage. He bounced back with a 4-yard touchdown, but he finished with 34 yards on 6 carries, which is okay, but he muffed a kick return before recovering it to gain 13 yards. If he keeps being unreliable, he's going to have to be cut. And this is something that we don't see, and the fact that we saw it in preseason hopefully is an outlier. But Cairo Santos missed an extra point and looked a little bit shaky. I think it all looked a little bit shaky while Patrick Scales is out with an injury. So we'll see how that resolves itself, if you will. The Detroit Lions, rookie cornerback Terrion Arnold and Enos Rakestraw played well. Arnold wasn't targeted on his 9 coverage snaps, but he did contribute to what led to a coverage sack or 2. The bad for them was the Detroit backups were unable to get their running game rolling, which is a great sign for us. And the ugly, Nate Sudfeld. Hooker had to leave the game with a potential concussion. Sudfeld struggled with 96 yards on 13 of 24 passing. So, we're not worried about that too much, but Jared Goff, probably that guy. Green Bay, Jordan Love comes in 3 plays into the game, throws a 65-yard touchdown pass to Dontavion Wicks, which was a pretty good one. Edge rusher Lucas Ness, the 13th overall pick in the draft, balled out with 3 tackles for loss and a sack. Listen, it's considered balled out when he had 3 tackles for loss and a sack against the Browns. And what did Austin Booker do? 3 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. He had a more dominant performance. Maybe you can say that, it's against Buffalo, a playoff team. So now, for the bad part, Marshawn Lloyd basically left the game with a hamstring injury, and that might cause him to miss the rest of the preseason. So, might be a little problem right there. Minnesota Vikings, extensive play from J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy rebounded, had a rough interception thrown right to Jack Jones, but he tossed 2 touchdowns against Raiders backups. So that was good. They won 24-23. Sam Darnold couldn't execute near the goal line. And McCarthy's pick to Jones is the ugly play of the day. And then there is one more piece here, and it's there. This is the Detroit called Lions Wire, and this is how they reacted to Caleb Williams. The Bears slaughtered the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo in what was Chicago's second exhibition game. Chicago opened the preseason to the Hall of Fame game, of course. Caleb Williams played the first 2 drives and led the Bears to 2 field goals. He looked really, really good. Chicago rested the rest of the starters on defense, but had the projected first-round offense on the field for 2 drives. The Bears defense took out some aggression on Mitchell Trubisky, who was one of 3 Buffalo quarterbacks under constant pressure by the Chicago pass rush. And that was funny to see, like, not in a bad way, but I mean, seeing him running around the field like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Was a little bit enjoyable. I do have to admit that, even though I wish nothing but the best for the man. He was 10 of 18 for 82 yards passing. He was sacked twice, and he had a quarterback rating of 67 compared to Caleb Williams had a 101.8, Austin Reed 95.8, Tyson Bagent 78.6. Brett Rippon didn't get much time, but he was a 64.6. So, and they had 77 yards rushing on 26 carries, averaging 3 yards a carry compared to the Bears at 4.7 yards a carry. The average catch for the Chicago Bears for the game, 16.8 yards. For Buffalo, 8.7 yards. You can see they rely a lot more on passing. They had 18. They had 18 completions. They relied on the passing game just a little bit more. So, oh, and by the way, should be noted that despite that we've been having some good conversations about Tyler Scott, he was looking the part. He did have a fumble on a handoff on a jet sweep, which was not. He did recover it, and we did have a fumble by Tyson Bagent. So I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. The Bears looking like they are going to be stars this year. I had somebody in chat here said drove 8 hours and 8 back, completely worth it. I don't see why 12-5 isn't realistic. I said at the beginning of the season, 13-4 was my goal. I would settle for 12-5. I would settle for 11-6 and a playoff berth. That's the important part. Now, the question is, can the Bears surge when it matters towards the end of the season? And the answer to that is unknown. We don't know yet what this team's going to look like towards the end of the season. What we know right now is that they look like one of the better teams in the league in preseason. If that translates over into the into regular season, awesome. If it doesn't, back to the drawing board. No more Matt Eberflus. But I don't think we have to worry about that. I think the Chicago Bears are probably going to be one of the biggest surprises in the entire league. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's the end of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember to bear down and fuck Green Bay. And we'll talk to you again very, very soon.